Howdy. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Meekum. I'm president of the board. I'm absolutely, on behalf of everyone here in the board, we're absolutely delighted to be here. Personally, this is one of my favorite times of the year. It's my 5th annual meeting, but 2 of which were via COVID. Those don't count. And I just absolutely love to meet, mingle, and I thrive on the energy of engaging with you all. I mean, this is a special time. We have a agenda similar to the last few years. We're gonna do some quick introductions, some committee updates, and then leave some time. We're gonna honor some recent retirees from the board, and then leave a little time for Q&A afterwards, and then we'll have wine and cheese after that. So lots of good mingling and engagement. We're gonna start with intros to the board, which is kind of fun. We do this every year, and we'll start with me. And this is probably old news for some of y'all, but here we go. Again, my name is Mike Meekum. I'm the oldest of 4 boys. I'm a proud product of Spokane Public Schools and later the University of Washington. Go Dogs. I've been at Horizon House for 4 years this month, just starting my 5th year. Spent 2 years as a vice president, tutoring under Ann Brand, and then I've been president this last year, and I'll be president through the end of this year. I embrace and enjoy this governance role, I mean, truly. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity. It's a great place to serve. In addition to Horizon House, I serve on 2 other boards in town, nonprofit boards, the Committee for Children in Belltown, they're pioneers in SEL, and the Fulcrum Foundation, which works with Catholic schools in the Archdiocese. By way of background, I've got about 28 years of experience working in media, technology, and telecom across the US and Latin America. And then from a functional perspective, I'm your classic generalist. I've done strategy, biz dev, marketing, et cetera, in different progressing capacities. On the personal front, I've been married for 33 years to my wife, Solange, who originally hails from Uruguay. I get yelled at each and every day in Spanish in my home. And incidentally, we are heading there tomorrow for some much deserved vacation. I have 2 grown sons, Nick, who turned 32 yesterday, and Roger, who is 30. Nick is in Miami. Roger just moved back here from Nashville. He'd received an MBA at Vanderbilt. And I had some precious time, father-son road trip from Dallas to Seattle. 6 days one-on-one time, and it was an epic trip. We're still talking. And, and I saw on his Instagram the other day, just finished a great road trip with my dad. Epic trip, epic. So all good. The boys, the Neanderthals are both still single, as far as we know. Anything having to do with the fair sex is very much need to know with them. A few fun facts. I'm a dual US Italian citizen. My maternal grandfather came from a little hamlet outside of Venice. And the other one is I had the great fortune and opportunity to walk the Camino de Santiago in 2017. So that's a little bit about me and Bob.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, everyone. I will echo Mike's comments that this is my favorite board meeting and resident meeting as well. I enjoy completely every time that the board has the opportunity to meet with the residents and the wine and cheese parties that are there put on by Oliver, which are fantastic always. And I'll skip to a fun fact first. I'll come back to other details, but my wife often comes down with me And the first time that we were here, or that she was here, she was waiting out in the Fireside Lounge for the board meeting. And when I came out of the board meeting, she was completely surrounded by residents. And wherever we go, whenever we're talking about things, and we have visited a number of CCRCs and assisted living facilities, both here as well as in New Jersey, where we're both from. And when we're talking, she cannot ever stop telling that story because it's amazing and it speaks to this community. So she was sitting out there in the Fireside Lounge by herself. And then someone came over and sat down and talked to her. And then somebody else came by. And as I said, before the meeting was over, she was completely surrounded by residents. And she says it happens every time she comes. And it's phenomenal. But as I mentioned earlier, my wife and I are both originally from New Jersey and moved out here in gradual steps across. I was very fortunate in my career that in the mid 2000s, Bob Klein was on the board of the corporation that I was a chief financial officer for. And in 2015, Bob invited me to join the finance committee for Horizon House. So I've begun my association with Horizon House back in 2015. And 2 years later, I was asked to join the board. So this will be my 7th year on the board, and I'm beginning my final 3-year term. I can assure you that when my 9 years are up, at least on the board, it will be a disappointing day for me because I have thoroughly enjoyed my time here. And I sit on 2 other boards, both public corporations, one in Raleigh, North Carolina, and one in Dallas, Texas. And by far, and I tell everyone this story, if my wife was there, this is by far my favorite board and always has been. I chair the finance committee and the audit committee. And we'll talk a little bit more about those later as we go through the committees. Both of them are mentally strenuous and lots of meetings with very, very deep agendas. I retired from Esterline Corporation, which was headquartered here in Seattle in 2018 after a 40-year career in a variety of industries and moving gradually across the United States from New Jersey to New York, Pennsylvania, and then to Washington. And we thought, my wife and I thought that this would be a fairly short stay until we got back to the East Coast where our families are. But on that note, my wife and I met in high school. And we were the king and queen of our high school prom. And we were Romeo and Juliet in our yearbook. Then after we graduated, we spent 6 years kind of together, but physically apart through university level. And I found out today that I've got a fellow graduate of Drew University who's a resident here. And very, very fine, two. I didn't know. A very competitive, small university. And when I say small, when I was there, our enrollment in the college was less than 1,000 students. Anyway, and then I spent a year in Europe studying the European Economic Community. I'm an econ major and an econ geek, actually. I still read The Economist magazine. Don't hold that against me. And then finally, after graduating grad school, we got married. We have two children, similar ages to Mike's. Our daughter is 34 and our son is 30. And when we moved here, they were both very young. And my wife and I both thought that we would be moving back to the East Coast initially. Funny thing happened along the way, however. When they were both in university, One went to Seattle University here, our son, and our daughter, no offense to this guy over here, our daughter's a Coug and a loyal Coug. And anyway, they're both in university and they were talking, and we had a family discussion one night around dinner when they were visiting, and they said, we are not moving from here. And so since family is incredibly important to us, my wife and I looked at each other and said, well, I guess we're not moving either. And so we're here for the duration. Anyway, that's my story.
Well, hello again, everyone. My name is Gary Southerton. I am the pastor of Broadview Community United Church of Christ. I am the UCC board representative for the United Church of Christ because Horizon House had a lot to do with the establishment of this place. And there's a lot of people that are connected with congregationalism and an openness to life, and that I'm a lifelong resident of Seattle. I was born and raised. I was born in Providence, which is now known as Swedish Cherry Hill. Went to St. John's Grade School, Blanchette High School, the University of Washington. So that makes 2 to 1 now, Mike, just for we're keeping track. And then I have a master's degree in international economics and a master's degree in theology. A lot of people, being a native of Seattle, right now I hear people thinking that they're going to make a bet against Seattle. I wouldn't take that bet. My dad worked for Boeing on the SST project. They thought Seattle was done then. Well, Seattle is much more diverse and much more with it today than it was then. And it can go with the times. We made some very difficult decisions to save lives during COVID, and we paid a heavy price. And now we are coming out of what Mike calls a COVID hangover. And we are coming out of it. And I've noticed that downtown last Friday, I went with my husband, David, we went to dinner at Tulio's, and we went to the Paramount Theater for a show. And so downtown has a ways to go, but I'm betting on Seattle, and I always have. I love this place, and I love this place. And in fact, after today's discussion, David and I are going to get on the waiting list for Horizon House. I'm betting on this place too. So I love this place, and I love the energy of this place. I go to a lot of different nursing homes as a pastor and retirement centers. And some of them I've mentioned before are great if you want to live on a cruise ship. But if you want to live a life, an engaged life, this is the place to come. And that's why there really is no other place that I'd even consider unless I just lived on my own. David and I have been together 17 years. I'm sure glad to know that gay marriage was going to be a threat to Western civilization. It doesn't seem like it has been, so that's good. I'm just grateful for the engagement, but also the forward thinking of this community. And I love serving on this board. I've just been approved to serve for my 2nd term, and I'm looking for 3 terms so that I can match Bob. This is a great place, and this is a great organization.
Hello, I'm George Counts. I've been on the Board of Trustees for 1 year. I had a background of about 35 years in the health field, either on the faculty of the University of Washington School of Medicine or with the federal government, the National Institutes of Health, as well as the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. And I retired some 20 years ago, working for the Fred Hutchinson and its HIV vaccine project. I've been at Horizon House for 7 years, and during that time, I was privileged to be elected to the Residence Council, and serving those 3 years just kind of enforced my support for all the activities that it does. After leaving the council, the opportunity to get involved on the Board of Trustees, where I felt I could really make a difference in terms of supporting the things that I feel are important for Horizon House. Something of fun, when I retired, I spent some years becoming a wood turner. So for 10 years, I was a wood turner, making bowls, vases, and that sort of thing. One other thing, for those of you who like farmers markets, I am the founder of the Queen Anne Farmers Market, which was voted the top farmers market in the country. Thank you.
Well, that is a tough act to follow. My name is Janelle Johnson. I've been serving on the board for about a year, and I just second Gary's sentiments about this community. It's been a wonderful time getting to know many of you. I feel the warmth and the love every time I walk through the building. It's innovative, it's exciting, it's lively, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be a part of this community that you've created. I also serve on the Seattle Opera Board. So for those of you who love opera, I know this is kind of an artistic community. You have to check out the Thousand Splendid Suns, which will be on stage next month. And there's a lovely Afghan arts exhibit coming up this weekend in Seattle. But it's just lovely to serve the community in this way. I grew up in the area. I was raised in Kent, just 20 minutes or so down the road. I went on to the University of Washington and earned a degree in Japanese sociolinguistics and moved away from Seattle, moved to Yokohama, Japan, and thought I would never return to this rainy city. But my parents and siblings, I'm the oldest of 5, live in Gig Harbor. So I clicked my heels together and said, there's no place like home, and came right back about 15 years later. And I love being here. I have 2 boys, a 26-year-old who was married in December. So I'm a mother-in-law now, which is really exciting. And I have a 21-year-old who is proudly a professional soccer player. He plays with St. Louis City SC. So I'm a super proud mama and glad to see him rise in his life. Let's see, I'm also a philanthropic advisor in my professional life. I serve on the philanthropy committee here at Horizon House, which aligns with my day job in helping people arrange their charitable giving during their lifetimes and through their estates, coordinating difficult conversations with family members and just being kind of a support person. And I've been doing that sort of work for about 17 years. Let's see, things I love to do. I love to read. Right now, I'm reading The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by, I'm going to butcher her name, Honoré Favone Jeffers. It's just a beautiful book, 800 pages. So make sure you have a nice glass of wine on a rainy day and sit by your window for a good read. I also love wine and cooking, anything related to the culinary arts, and also mountain biking, biking in Issaquah. Tiger Mountain there. There's a mountain biking park called Duthie that I frequent often and just love it there. So anyway, that's a little bit about me, and look forward to chatting with some of you later on this evening.
Hi, most of you know me. My name is Deanna Nelson, and I'm president of the Residence Council. And by virtue of being president of the Residence Council, I'm on the Board of Trustees because their bylaws provide that the corporation shall have the president on the board. I was a CPA, but don't spread that around because when I retired, true story, I let my license lapse, and there was an admonition that I was never to use that designation or say former CPA again, or there would be penalties. So, and the reason I let my license drop is I had to take 40 hours a year of professional education to keep it up. And I had suffered through enough of that. That was it. I wasn't going to do that anymore. I started my career by working for various firms in New York, including a CPA firm where Victor Borga was my client. Now, some of you youngsters here probably have never heard of him, but I know the rest of you have. I even got a piece of Danish pottery from him for Christmas once, which I donated to the Monday market when I moved here. I worked for PACCAR in Bellevue before my husband and I decided to start our own CPA firm, which we very cleverly named Nelson and Nelson. Isn't that great? It seems that whenever I live in multifamily housing, I end up being part of the structure. I was on the board of my co-op in New York. I was president of the board of my condo in Seattle, and now here I am again. And I've decided that what happens is enough time passes between each stint that I forget and say yes again. All kidding aside, though, I'm really honored to be on this board. They're wonderful people. They're doing incredible things. It's hard work. And I'm very, very pleased to be here. I'm at Horizon House. As part of my board work, I'm on the philanthropy committee and I'm also on the CEO search committee. So I'm happy to be able to represent you all in the consequential issues that affect us all, and keep telling me what you think and what you want, because I'm interested and I want to know. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Yerby, and I've been here before. Like Mike said, this is a great time of the year when we get to see up close people who are residents here. Residence is important to this board, and we want to do everything that we can to improve the life here at Horizon House, which others have said, which is a great place to be, I think. I've had the privilege of serving on the board for now 5 years, and I currently serve on 2 board committees: community relations and diversity, and governance. And unlike most people here, I've worked in every sector. I worked in the public. I worked at Bourne in the private sector. I worked at in the public sector at the city of Seattle. I worked for King County, and I worked for Washington State Ferries. So I think I've maybe topped everybody here in terms of experience. My areas of focus as an employee was talent management, human resource administration, and labor relations. Learned a lot in labor relations of what it means to compromise, what it means to see the point of what's supposed to be your opposition. I've served on a number of local boards, independent colleges of Washington. And by the way, Mike, you said you were from the University of Washington, so I'm proud Red Hawk, Seattle University. So David Okamoto, a former board member, invited me to consider Horizon House as a board member. Really didn't know much about Horizon House at the time. I've since learned how complex this organization is. So of all the boards that I've served on, this is the most complex. I'm an advocate, Seahawk fan, and also a Huskies football fan. I enjoy walking and salmon fishing. And like every good person who do a salmon fishing, my fish stories are considerably bigger than any fish that I've ever caught. Although I've lived in Seattle for most of my life, my family migrated from Louisiana to Seattle. My grandfather came to Seattle in 1943 and told fantastic stories about his experience. This is like Horizon House. Seattle is a wonderful place to be. My wife and I have two children, one boy, I guess man now, and one daughter. My son lives in Plano, Texas, and the daughter is still here local in Seattle. The Horizon House board is composed of really, really talented people. That's just the one thing that I've recognized and feel honored to serve with. Not only talented, but very dedicated. So I'm looking forward to chatting with many of you after this event is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I thought this was alphabetical order, but I just realized it wasn't. So I too enjoy coming to board meetings because my parents let me count that as a visit. So actually, the funny thing about when I joined the board, actually, our CEO, Mike, was the one that suggested this, and I hadn't talked with my parents about where they were heading, and when they found out I was going to be joining the board, said, "Well, that's where we want to go." So it was sort of a funny coincidence, but I've known about Horizon House for I guess most of my adult life. Maybe I knew about it before them most of my adult life, and really didn't know much about it until Mike in a business group that we're in shared a bit about it with me, and it's been a wonderful experience. I've been on the board the same amount as Mike, I guess 4 years going on 5, and it's been tremendous opportunity. I sort of have a more selfish reason to be on the board. I really just want to learn, and it's been a great opportunity. Hopefully I'm able to participate a bit as well and add some value with my business experience, but it's just been a tremendous learning opportunity. Really how engaging the community is. And it's a very unusual, as we've learned about other communities, this is a very unusual place. I think the resonance driven model is just, it really is unique as we've studied others. And I have to say that this management team that you have is exceptional. I literally cannot imagine a more challenging and difficult situation over these last few years and how well the team has led. I hope you feel the same way. I'm just stunned by how well they did during that period of time. It's really quite amazing. I grew up here. I grew up in north end of Seattle. At the time, it was just unincorporated King County. This is called Lake Forest Park now. I did go to Horizon View Elementary School, which is no longer there, but Horizon House, Horizon View. I left and went off to college. I wasn't planning on doing that. I was planning to go to UW, and I remember after applications were already done being due, I was planning on going to the honors program at UW, and my dad said, "Oh no, you're going away to college." Luckily, a friend's father went to Northwestern, and it turns out their applications were due later than most, and I applied there. I say luckily because I did meet my wife there. We have been married for 38 years and engaged or married for 40. I'm now more and more confident that I am going to make it to 40 years of marriage as well. And we moved around quite a bit right after Northwestern, went to Stanford Business School, then moved around quite a bit. That was just, the next job was the best opportunity. Largely stayed with the same company, but we moved around. I was in much like Mike, in the cellular business, and then technology, and now I run in the 4 Northwest states. I run a broadband data company. We provide internet to residential and commercial. And so my wife and I have 3 kids. My daughter's 29. My middle son is 31, and my oldest is 33. My oldest is a medical resident up in Everett. He's married to a woman who works at Amazon and still works at Amazon. And my middle son, I say, is the smart one. He married a doctor. And he's an engineering manager at Boeing. Jim mentioned he worked at Boeing, still stalwart in the community. And his wife actually just finished her residency and is now practicing at PacMed as an internist. My daughter has some medical issues and she lives at home with us. I think that this community, this broader, the Horizon House, but the broader community that we live in is so important to me. I've never lived anywhere that felt like home except here. And I've lived a lot of places. I moved a lot. And so, one of the reasons that I'm doing what I'm doing is I'm building fiber to communities that don't have good internet access. And, I think we learned over these last couple of years that connecting people is a super powerful thing. And I'm happy to be able to do that. My wife worked upstairs and taught elementary school, and I worked downstairs starting a new company. It's just sort of amazing how distant we can be and how connected we can be. And I think it's opened up opportunities here. We as a board were able to get together and do our board business, working remotely. And you were able to engage with each other and your loved ones, and maybe were restricted in where you could go. So we live in a world that requires that kind of connection, and it's so important. And I think Horizon House is really the perfect example of that. I'm just happy to participate. Thank you.
Did you say Alex? Is the volume okay? I don't want to blow people out in the speakers. Well, thanks so much for taking a term and accommodating me being away.
Hold on a second, Alex. We are fixing the audio on our end. Just a moment.
I wondered that would happen. That's so normal.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, now you're good. Thank you.
Is that good? Great. So nice to see everybody. I'm Alex Tibbetts. I was there in person last year, and I had terrible luck this year. My one business trip that I didn't have any control over starts tonight. So I needed to be here to host something at 6. I grew up in Massachusetts and I moved here in '99, and I'm the mother of 2 natives, and I'm a wannabe native, but hopefully I'll have grandchildren native someday too. I have enjoyed working at Amazon, Microsoft, and right now I work at Google, and I work on the YouTube brand on learning and education. I live in the U District, near Ravenna Boulevard, and I have 2 children, a son in 10th grade at the Northwest School, which is right nearby. I know at least one family there has a grandson also in 10th grade at the Northwest School. And my daughter is a junior at University of California, Berkeley, studying public health and data science. And you might remember last year I might have bragged about her rowing career, but she has quit rowing and focusing on socializing and studying and career planning, which I fully supportive of. It's been really nice over the last year to get to visit Horizon House more. I've been to the Monday market and brought friends. And 2 days ago, February 5th, was my birthday. And my husband surprised me with that Swiss typewriter that was down there that I had been admiring for a while. If you don't remember it, it went away. I had a picture of it on my phone. I was going to show you if you don't remember it. But now it's decorating my kitchen, and I love it. And you guys had your chance. It was there for a long time, and but I got a bargain in the end. And it's been really nice meeting the new board members that have joined this year. I love the new website, and the CEO search is really exciting too. So for this year, I'm dreaming that someday, maybe my son could do some tech support in the library someday. Like that's one of my dreams. And I'm just working on. I had a leak in my kitchen. Working on my kitchen, and yeah, just sort of going through the third cycle of layoffs in tech. First the .bomb, and then the big real estate correction. And now I had we lost a lot of people a couple of weeks ago at Google, and just sort of, trying to support people that are still here and people that have left the company as well, and helping them adjust to new normal. But I just love being part of the group, and I look forward to spending more time down there this year. And I'm so sorry I couldn't be there tonight.
Mike, I can't hear. You want me to go? Okay. Hi. Hi, I'm Yukio Morikubo. I'm just my second year as a board member, and I echo the sentiments of everyone in that this is a privilege to be on the board here at Horizon House. I was introduced to Horizon House by Mike Meekum, with whom I worked years back, and we've managed to keep in touch. Actually, Mike manages to keep in touch. He has the deepest Rolodex of anyone in Seattle, I think. So I am originally from Hawaii. Went to school there and practiced as a CPA. So Deanna, you're not alone. I'm a closeted CPA. But decided to go to law school, went back east for law school, and started my career post-law school at Perkins Coie in Seattle. My wife and I came out to Seattle the summer of my second year, fell in love with the city. What's not to love in the summertime? Then came to work in the fall, and it was a rude awakening, but we got through it, and we've come to love it. It's been 30 some odd years since we came to Seattle, and our two kids are native Seattleites. We have a son who is now today 27, and our daughter is soon to be 30. She lives in New York, and our son lives in Seattle. I also feel the energy at Horizon House, and I'm very excited about the future of the organization. I have always been impressed since I've met the team there by the management team and the staff. I think Horizon House is very fortunate to have the caliber of management and staff that it has. And of course, the board is exemplary for a nonprofit board. So it's been a pleasure to get to meet everyone and to know everyone. And I look forward to continuing to participate.
All right, we are going to just keep on going, and back to Yukio we're going to get into committee updates, and turn it over to Yukio first for an update on the governance committee.
Great, thanks, Mike. So truth be told, I'm feeling a little out of place because when I joined the board, Susan Duffy, who has been on the board, I believe, for 11 years, she made it past the 9 that's permitted, and has been, I think, just a anchor for the board, was my introduction to the governance committee, and she leaves big shoes to fill. The governance committee is the committee that helps the board maintain its standards as far as recruitment. And I think you can see the governance committee has been successful in recruiting high caliber individuals to serve on this board. It also helps to continue to develop board members and to ensure that board members are receiving the right education that they need to serve the organization. There's an annual board assessment for board performance, And another aspect of this is to keep track of the bylaws and articles and governance documents, minutes and the like, just to make sure that everything is up to snuff and that we're really adhering to best practices as far as good governance. So yeah, honored to be on the governance committee.
Thank you.
So I have the pleasure and privilege of chairing the community relations. Oh, sorry. I have the privilege and pleasure of chairing the Community Relations and Diversity Committee. Committee has two primary functions: building community relations and promoting diversity and inclusion. Our committee has 5 members, all of whom are residents, with me being the exception. Every one of our committee members are really, really hardworking and dedicated. I'd like to share committee members with you. Mary Mullen. I didn't see Mary, but, oh, hi, Mary. Mary is just a phenomenal worker and really, really dedicated to what we do. Jeff Graham is also a committee member. I see Jeff. Jeff brings his insights and organization and planning skills to the committee. John Shadoff. I see John. Bernice Kastner. Bernice is in the back. Karen Perot. Karen, right here. Grace Popoff. I don't see Grace. And oh, hi. Andrew Harris and Beth Riese are 2 staff members to the committee. Highlights of the committee's work for the past year include reviewing the applications of community organizations that apply for grants here at Horizon House, where we award $50,000 and to help promote really good community relations. The committee also completed a strategic planning session, and thanks to Jeff for helping with that, to help focus our work on setting priorities, and particularly setting priorities around diversity and inclusion. We're in the process of finalizing those goals as we speak. In partnership with one community organization, the Breakfast Group, whose primary goal is supporting youth, predominantly African-American youth, complete high school, and of course attend college at a 4-year institution of their choice. The other thing that I would like to call out, and Jan was really, really instrumental in helping us get this done. Community Relations and Diversity, on behalf of Horizon House, awarded a $1,000 scholarship in support of a young person sponsored by the Breakfast Group in May of 22. That award was in honor of a past resident, Frank Jones, whom many of you probably know. Jan, thank you for all that you did for the committee while you was there, and thank you for your insights and reaching out to the community. I think our committee, the community relations side is really, really important as we reach out and invite people to learn about Horizon House if they don't know, and also to work with us in many ways. And I think we are on the right track. Thank you.
So I am the chair of the Philanthropy Committee, Gary Southerton, and I've been thinking about my career, and I started in 1988 when I was ordained a priest and served as a priest for 15 years. And then I've done 2 nonprofits, and now I'm back to being a pastor. And to summarize my career, all I've done is begged and say thank you for 35 years. That's all I've done. And I'm very good at it. I really am good at it. I guess anything, you get good at it if you do it for 35 years, you know, so. And so I was typecast when they appointed me chair of the Philanthropy Committee, because that's just helping people to beg. I've been the chair for the last couple of years, and I just really want to recognize Ruth Ann and Charlene as a staff. You guys are, and Christy, the 3 of you, you're like the Holy Trinity. You're just phenomenal. So thank you so much for the work that you do. We had a good year. We had a goal of $450,000. And as of December 31st, we surpassed that goal and raised $466,000. We should really offer a round of applause to you. We had an 81% participation rate. My goal is always 100% participation rate, but we also know that some cannot give because of life circumstance. But these funds are used to support residents' assistance, staff scholarships, and something brand new that you probably have heard about is the staff scholarship program, which is phenomenal. It's a way to attract employees and retain employees to Horizon House, but the staff can receive up to $12,000 a year, up from $6,000 a year for university courses. And what's new is their dependents can receive up to $12,000 a year for university courses. And also what's new is loan forgiveness at $1,200 a year. So I wish my mom had worked for Horizon House. She could have helped pay off those student loans. So, and we also fund house enrichment grants. They used to be called GEM grants. And GEM grants are great because you have a great logo, which is a gem. The problem is that nobody knew what GEM stood for. So we just call them enrichment grants, and it's for enriching the life here at Horizon House. And so they're now called enrichment grants. We have a great committee. Current members of the Philanthropy Committee are Ann Brand, who's the former president of the board for Horizon House, John Ginnett, who's a resident here and was also a pastor, Elizabeth Hoover, Janelle Johnson, who does philanthropy for a living. He must be another professional beggar. No, Bryce Seidel, who has family here, as well as David Robinson. And so these are people on the committee. I'm hoping to get Marcia Almquist. I'd love Marcia on the committee, but I'm sure she has so many talents. Marcia preceded me as executive director of Plymouth Healing Communities way back when. And so she's brand new to our board, and I'm delighted that we've approved her to be on our board of trustees. Thank you.
Gary is a tough act to follow, I tell you. Now, he is an ordained minister, and he said he begs and says thanks. Okay, I am definitely not an ordained minister, but I pray that the books balance every quarter. So you're gonna have to bear with me here because I have 2 committees to talk about. Both are fairly rigorous ones. The Finance Committee first. We shoulder a fairly significant workload with update meetings every month. In addition to our regularly scheduled quarterly meetings that have very long and intensive agendas. And I will call out Christy Seymour because our work could certainly not be accomplished without her assistance and support. In addition to meeting as a committee, we meet regularly with external advisors on technical topics, such as our investment advisors for the funds that we have on the balance sheet, financing experts and subject matter experts as necessary. The Finance Committee charter focuses on 3 specific areas with very broad reach: fiscal policy, budget development and operating performance, financial management, oversight, and investment policy. The committee consists of residents, board members, and external experts. Bill Anderson and Jim Fitzgerald are residents on the committee. Mr. Fitzgerald, however, has recently tendered his resignation after a very long tenure. And his experience and expertise will sorely be missed, and we will be looking to try to not replace that technology and capability, but to add someone with his skills. And we appreciate everything you've done, Jim. Gary Posner is an external expert who I have had the very good fortune of working with for over 20 years. He is a really great addition to the committee. Tom Garland, Mike Beacom, Lori Warfield Larson, Alex Tibbetts, and I comprise the balance of the committee. Mike Ostrom and Christy, as I've already mentioned, are essential staff support. The role of the committee fundamentally is to review, study, challenge, and ask questions of all aspects of the Horizon House financial structure. As you all would expect and demand, a very large portion of our time over the last year and looking forward, and our efforts have been revolving around the discussion and the analysis of the West Tower. Historically, the Horizon House Finance Committee and staff have done an exceptional job of managing through growth, good times, challenging times, and pandemic times. Our goal is to maintain this tradition. Now, the Audit Committee is a sister committee to the Finance Committee with a narrower scope, but one that is every bit as important. And the principal role of the Audit Committee is to oversee the relationship between the Horizon House accounting and financial staff and the outside independent accounting firm. And we use Clark Nuber for all of the Horizon House financial and accounting statements. We all, residents, staff, and board members, should take pride and confidence in the dedication and skill of Christy Seymour and Marjan Swan in running this vital function. And you should take a great deal of confidence as well in their work. The Audit Committee's focus points are to review the process, meet with Clark Nuber and Horizon House staff, ask questions, and review the financial statements in detail with both Clark Nuber and the accounting staff. Members of the committee are a mix of residents, board members, and external experts. The external experts are all trained and accredited CPAs. Jared Daly, Kathy Hasagawa, and Gary Posner. Resident Jim Fitzgerald is a longtime member and is also retiring from the committee. Again, leaving me in the lurch. Mike Meekum, Alex Tibbetts, and I round out the committee. Mike Ostrom, Christy, and Marjan provide invaluable staff support. And as I finish, I just have to say that the history of the Finance Committee and the Audit Committee for Horizon House and all of the residents has been outstanding. And I take this responsibility with incredible seriousness and am really pleased with the same way that it's approached with all of our committee members and the residents.
Howdy again. Mike Meekum. I am the, actually, before I get started, there's been a lot of talk about CPAs. I'm a recovering CPA, okay? See my therapist, I'm getting better. But I chair the CEO search committee. Our goal is pretty straightforward. We're conducting a nationwide search to identify and ultimately recruit a new CEO to backfill for Mike, who will be retiring in late summer. We have 6 months to do this, okay? So this is a huge priority. We got a lot of plates that we're spinning right now at a board level, but this is certainly right at the top of the list in terms of priority, and it may arguably be one of the most important things that we do. We are so blessed and grateful to have Mike, and before Mike, Sarah, and we need to just continue a tradition of hiring great talent, okay? Period, full stop. The search committee is 7 members. It includes 6 trustees, myself, Alex, Gary, Bob. The 4 of us comprise the executive committee of the board. In addition, George Counts and Deanna Nelson are on the search committee. And then the 7th person is my immediate predecessor on the board, Ann Brand. So 7 folks, got 6 of whom are board. Cut another way, we have 4 non-residents and 3 residents on the board. Some highlights from 2022, some of which you're already familiar with, but we established this ad hoc committee early in 2022. We conducted a small RFP to ultimately select and retain a search firm, a company called the Defit Group, of which many of you folks had an opportunity to meet when they were on site late last year. Another key highlight was when they were on site in early November, and they conducted 11 to 12 different focus groups with different constituencies across the community. And they also received upward of 80 residential surveys. And what were they trying? They really wanted to understand and get to know who we are, our DNA, our culture, what makes this place so differentiated and special. It's a huge success. They thoroughly enjoyed their trip. The product of that visit was right before Christmas, under the masterful guidance of Joan from sales and marketing, we crafted a 12-page position profile or position specification. And this basically is 3 components. 1, the job description, 2, the organization description, and 3, the location description. And this became in turn the key document that Defit is taking to market right now as they start to canvass and look for candidates. So what's happening now? 2023, we're in the first quarter. This is what Defit refers as the quiet period for us. Pretty silent. The Defit Group is out there right now hitting the market hard with ad placements, with personalized email outreach to over 1,000 candidates. They're combing LinkedIn profiles and then sending LinkedIn messages to candidates, which is another 300. And most importantly, they're doing a lot of telephone outreach to prospective candidates and talent nationwide, okay? So we are, make no mistake, we're in contact with them, but this is really them doing a lot of gumshoe work, understanding what the talent is in the marketplace, And so to that end, we talk to them. I talk to them 3 times a week, but we have a standing bi-weekly meeting with the DEFIT group for updates. They presented today at the board meeting. And I suspect that later this quarter, probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will start to see candidate packages, if you will, from DEFIT to us of candidates that they've pre-screened and they think, you know, these folks meet muster for us to consider interviewing here. And then looking forward, I expect that Q2, well, late March, early April, we'll be really busy interviewing candidates, including on-site. So that is a lot of activity. Again, it's a little bit our quiet period, but we're cautiously optimistic. The color back from DEFIT today is definitely some good interest. And I suspect that I expect to see 2 or 3 candidate packets in the next 3 weeks. Okay, thank you. So we are moving on to a fun part of the session, which is to acknowledge and recognize some recent trustee retirements. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Janelle.
Hello again, everyone. My name is Janelle Johnson, and I have the pleasure of honoring you this evening, Elizabeth. This will be your last meeting with the board, and we look forward to what you'll do in the future. And it's sad to say farewell, but we wish you the best. And it was a pleasure to prepare a few words about you this evening. Elizabeth is a warm and generous soul. She's creative, has a heart for community and family, and she enjoys the arts. Decorating, gardening, and music are just a few of her passions. Over the past year, she has stewarded her talents and interests to advance the community she loves as president of the Horizon House Residents Council. But this isn't the first time she's welcomed the opportunity to serve her community. She was also director of the Monday Market for 3.5 years. She organized resident mixers and served on the welcoming committee. She was an assisted living escort leader in the Friendly Visitor Program, and she also coordinated the Employee Recognition Fund. She is clearly driven, an exemplary person of purpose with a heart to lead and serve, as also demonstrated in her 23-year career at Whitman College as the Associate Director of Admission, where she helped create pathways for the next generation of bright young minds. She has been instrumental on the Horizon House Board and given residents a voice on the governance and philanthropy committees, which are key to nurturing the Horizon House way of life. She's also been involved in the CEO search process to identify a leader with the qualities and attributes fit to lead such a special organization. Please join me in thanking Elizabeth for her heartfelt service, stewardship, and commitment to Horizon House over the years. And we have a little gift for you, Elizabeth. Is that? Yeah, come on up.
I'm getting more time now than I've ever had on a Sunday morning. So I'm here. Before I recognize the person I'm supposed to, I need to apologize because I did not include Deanna, who's the newest member on the Philanthropy Committee. Thank you, Deanna, for being on the committee. And also we have a new lawyer who does estate planning, Angela Macy Cushman. So I wanted to make sure that those two were acknowledged for being on the Philanthropy Committee. And Elizabeth, you're staying on the Philanthropy Committee because once we get our clutches into you, you cannot get away. So I have it's kind of bittersweet. It's just bittersweet. I'm here to thank Jan Corson for serving on the board of directors, and she also was on the philanthropy committee for the past 2 years. And Jan and I have become friends. And also when she walks into a room, the light goes on. It's just, I'm just grateful to have this opportunity to acknowledge your presence and your work on the Board of Trustees, but also the Philanthropy Committee. You also served on the Community Relations and Diversity Committee. So thank you for that. Jan has a long history in philanthropy. She started as a speech pathologist, and I don't know how that worked from speech pathology to philanthropy, except that you do need good vocal skills in order to ask people for money. But she worked for, like really great organizations, high-powered organizations like the University of Washington. Sorry, Bob, and Children's Hospital. She spent 30 years in the work in philanthropy work. And so just really grateful for your years of service to the community, to this community, and to the Board of Trustees. Thank you so much, Jan. And I just want to acknowledge, Jan had to make a decision to step off the board for self-care. And that is just a wonderful model to have the courage to do that. That's not an easy thing to do. And Jen, I just really appreciate your courage in making this decision for your well-being.
So I don't know who made up this rotation, but again, I have to follow Gary. Okay, it's not bad enough that I have to follow Gary, but one of my favorite people that I've ever met on the board, Jan, and so I have to handle that. But I am going to present in absentia a little information on Tom Garland. Tom's not able to attend in person tonight because he and his wife are in Vietnam on vacation. I asked him if he would fly back for this event, and he graciously declined, which, I was. But to say that Tom has been a force on the board would be understating the truth by half or more. Tom is retiring from the board after a full 9 years, but he is remaining as a key member of the Finance Committee. So that is good for me, actually. So during his 9-year run on the board, Tom was a board VP for 2 years and a board president for another 3 years. You can do the math. For over half of his tenure on the board, he was either a VP or a president. But in addition to that, Tom has been a member of the Finance Committee for his entire 9-year term and is continuing, as I mentioned. He was also a committee member on the Technology Task Force, the Futures Committee, and the Executive Committee. I think he was kind of like all in. Tom's outside interests revolve around family. He's on vacation with his wife and his wife, Tracy, their children and grandchildren. In addition to he escapes with golf, which for those of you who play golf, I'm not sure that's necessarily an escape, at least if you play the way I do. Hiking and camping. And we wish Tom all the best, and we thank his contributions to the board. But I certainly look forward to his guidance and his continued guidance and contributions on the Finance Committee.
Wow. This is a really honor and a tough job to acknowledge a wonderful person Susan Duffy, who is leaving the board after serving 3 full terms plus. That's how good she is. It's hard for her to get away. Susan brings and brought to the Horizon House board a set of unique skills and serves and has served Horizon House and its board extremely well. She has an extensive legal background and expertise with laws governing healthcare matters and in corporate governance. She also has legal expertise with tax exempt organizations, business planning, joint ventures, mergers, and business acquisitions. These experiences are remarkable and what every board needs, and certainly matches well with the needs of Horizon House Board. There isn't any question about Susan's academic achievements and professional credentials. I could go on, but we'll stop here. But I want to share my personal observations of Susan as a leader of the governance committee. When I joined the board 5 years ago, my first committee assignment was the governance committee. I recall observing Susan's leadership skills with admiration. She always had answers to tough questions. And if she did not, she would agree to take on a challenge of the assignment. She certainly has and brought to that committee can do and will do attitude. After a couple of years, Susan became chair of the governance committee. I'll share just a few of my observations and admirations for Susan's leadership. First, she gets to the point and moves the meeting agenda along, sometimes finishing before the time allotted for the meeting. She plans the committee agenda well and doesn't seem to mind if there is only a few issues or questions. She includes all members of the committee in the discussion and will make sure that every voice is heard on a matter before the committee. She doesn't and never did drag out meetings and usually ended meetings on time. Finally, Susan listens well. It does not have to be her idea or preferred way to move the agenda forward. I could go on and on and on about Susan, but thank you for your board service and leadership for the governance committee and beyond. For the past several years, which must seem like a lifetime for you. We'll miss your leadership, expertise, organizational skills, and inclusive leadership style. I know my words mirror other board members when I say we'll miss your voice, your leadership, your knowledge, and your commitment. Thank you, Susan, for your service to the Horizon House Board.
That was great, very touching. I'll just add one thing that comes to mind. When I think of these four folks who are stepping down, I think of both folks that bring both head and heart. If that 1 + 1 = 3, and that is just so critical, to governance, particularly at a place like this. Head and heart, and that's when we look to bring on new members, those are certainly high on my list, and folks that can bring both. So I am back, your favorite bad penny. It just keeps turning up. I wanted to take a few minutes to share with you a very important announcement. Earlier this afternoon, after some 3+ years of rigorous strategic planning, evaluation, and diligence, the Board of Trustees voted to move forward with plans to build a West Tower to replace the West Wing. Okay, we are very positive and excited about this strategic decision. In making this decision, we look back historically at Horizon House's well-established history of periodic growth since its founding in 1961. At various intervals over the last 6 decades, the board recognized that a build strategy fueled by community growth was essential to renewal, sustainability, and ultimately survival. As for Horizon House is a premier single-site facility. The East Tower was added in 1983, the West Wing in 84, the North Tower in 2007. I think we should be incredibly fortunate and grateful. We are the fortunate and grateful beneficiaries of these difficult, absolutely disruptive, and ultimately prescient strategic decisions that were made by our predecessors. As Mike has said this before, I'm quite confident that we would not be here today if not for some of those previous incredibly difficult decisions. That all being said, I want to acknowledge very much and recognize that this is a bittersweet decision, okay, to move forward. The direct impact on current West Wing residents, west-facing Central Tower residents, and the indirect community on the broader community absolutely cannot be overstated. We recognize that in a huge way. This disruption at this stage in people's lives is serious and must be understood and handled with the utmost of care and importantly with heartfelt empathy, okay? We need to take care of our folks. As we embark on the West Tower development project, our absolute deepest responsibility is to care for the residents and to help them transition to new homes of their choosing within the Horizon House community, okay, within the community. We are cautiously optimistic that we can accomplish this in part because we have a long lead time until construction, which is scheduled in the 4th quarter of 2025. Okay. Mike and the leadership team will be communicating the West Tower decision from this afternoon to the broader Horizon House community presently. In addition, they are in the process of finalizing transition plans for the affected residents. In the coming weeks, they will be meeting broadly with the community and more specifically with the impacted residents to discuss in more detail the situation for each resident. And they will also be meeting with those folks in the Central Towers whose west-facing views have been impacted. In addition, Mike and the leadership team will be sharing more details about the project scope, timetable, and design, the aspects therein that are currently coming together. And I suspect there's going to be a lot more engagement and dialogue between leadership, the resident community, and our design firm, Methuen, as we continue to refine the design of this project, okay? And we want to absolutely engage all the expertise here and knowledge so we can hone the design in a successful way. Finally, I just want to say in closing, we are absolutely positive and excited about this decision, but at the same time, we are keenly aware of the decision's impact on folks' lives, okay? We absolutely pledge to do our level best to thoughtfully transition those who are affected to new apartments where they can live comfortably, enjoyably, and well. With that, we'll open it up to Q&A.
Was the vote unanimous? And how many times did you vote?
We voted once. Well, let me back up. So the way it works, I'll unpack it. Technically, is the finance committee had a vote. Okay, and you met the finance committee today, and Bob, or many of the finance committee, and then they voted to move forward, and then they took that recommendation to the full board, where it was approved. We had all yays and one who voted in abstention or abstained.
I've served on quite a few boards and chaired some, and all of them operate with the Robert's Rules of Order with respect to this sort of thing. And I presume your board does, which means, with respect to elections, Robert rules have some very specific requirements. One that you ask for not only yays and nays, but abstentions. And abstentions are particularly important because often there can be conflicts of interest. So we would like to receive information. Did you follow all of those procedures? And will you give us information on the vote, the discussions, so that we can be informed of what you went through in making this very difficult decision?
Yeah. I did. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because, but everything we did was certainly by proper, and I believe there will be extensive minutes, as there always are, and those are, it's our process is very transparent. There's nothing, so there'll be minutes that reflect the discussion and the presenters, and I think the details of what in fact was approved, right?
Yeah.
Because what was approved was an initial furthering the study of this, right?
Right. So yeah, I mean, Beth takes super detailed, comprehensive minutes, and so it was all it's all part of the record.
Artist, hold on.
Where on earth are you going to put 50 or more people from the West Wing? Where are we going to move to, when, and how?
Right. So first of all, where would be within the broader community. We don't have the detail yet, but as I mentioned, we're cautiously optimistic that we will be able to accommodate all the impacted residents within the existing community. I know Mike and team are looking, are focused on that right now, and the plans around that will be forthcoming in the very near term to include follow-up individual meetings with each affected resident in the West Tower, as well as West Wing, and then also those in the Central Tower whose views are going to be impacted. I can't, I don't have a good time. Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, we have a long period. I can't tell you the exact time frame, but we're not looking to break ground under the current plan until the fall of 2025. You know, if you were press me right now, I'd say within the next 1 to 2 quarters, Mike and his team will be sitting down with each impacted resident. I don't have a more granular response. Oh, right here.
How, if at all, does this decision impact plans for renovations elsewhere in Horizon House, like the new dining room and the work in the lobby that we've been presented in the past?
Right. So separate from West Tower, I mean, we have you know, kind of a separate path for what we call master planning. Okay, some of those we're moving forward, you know, irrespective of where we are with the West Tower. Some of those master planning projects will have to be revisited to the extent that they're kind of integrated. We need to take them, revisit them to the extent that they're more impacted by the West Tower. Sorry, thank you.
There are rumors that the new West Tower is going to be a high-end, expensive, glamorous facility. If that is true, can you address that? And if that is true, will that affect the quality of this community, the nature of this community?
Yeah, so part of what we're doing now and kind of the next phase is to better understand what will be the mix of you know, inventory that will be available via the West Tower, and then how that would map to things like socio and economic diversity. Okay, which is, or is that okay? Yeah, at this, yeah, we have not gotten to a level of planning where we've identified price ranges yet for all the different inventory that would be coming online with the West Tower.
So why, I'm in the West Wing, why, if you promise to relocate all of us, why are you still selling apartments in the Central and East Tower to new people when those apartments should be safe for us?
No, great question. I think at some point, as part of this transition plan that they're finalizing right now, they're going to you know, start to earmark and understand that inventory that's going to be put aside for transitioning impacted residents, and that which we'll continue to make available and go to market with. Yeah.
1/3 of the population of Horizon House will be severely impacted by this project. Have you calculated that? 1/3 between the West Wing and those of us in the Central Tower that look west. We will have to endure 3 to 4 years of dirt, dust, noise, constant interruption of our lives. That's not what I signed up for just 2 years ago. I feel violated. I feel like ripped off. If I could get my money back, I would move today because it is not what I signed up for.
Thank you.
What's your response?
My response is I understand, I empathize with your feeling. I will say when we've thought long and hard about this, and not just about the West Wing residents or those with views in the Central Tower will be impacted, but honestly, the broader impact across the entire community and the disruption therein. We absolutely took it into account. And like we
meet with us?
Did I meet with you?
Yeah, did you meet with did the board members meet?
No. I mean, I will defer to Mike here, and others, but I think there's been several meetings with affected residents or prospectively impacted by the board. I will tell you that I'll just speak for myself. I get down here as much as I can. It's because I like to mingle and meet and understand folks down here. And, you know, we all try to get down here as much as possible. Is there more that we could do? Absolutely.
Board members did not meet with affected residents.
You know. Yeah. Question.
My understanding is that Mike met with everybody. I live in the West Wing. He met with me. Most of us had 45-minute meetings. I bet there's nobody in the West Wing that they did not meet with. The reason they don't meet with the board, as I understand, is the board delegates that kind of work to the staff of Horizon House. That's not something that's usually a board job, and maybe that could be confirmed by people who know more about board governance than I do.
I will add that between Mike, myself, and Lori, Ann Brand, and George Counts, there were 3 of us in the majority of those meetings that we had with residents in the West Wing. So George being a representative of the board, Ann Brand at the time was just rolling off of the board. So there was board representation to hear.
And we did also meet with all of the Central Tower West facing residents as well.
Thank you, Chrissy and Lori.
Do I understand that there are still apartments in the West Wing that are being sold now?
There are not apartments in the West Wing being sold. We have had a couple individuals, unique circumstances, who are interested in being there. They are more on a month-to-month type environment or contract until we figure out where their permanent home is going to be. They will not get priority over anybody else who has been in the West Wing longer than them. They will be at the bottom of the list because it will be based on their move-in date.
Is Beth still here? Oh, yeah, we had one question that came in, a written question that came in, and Beth, could you read it out loud and
Yes.
we'll ask Jim to answer it?
So when we asked for questions ahead of time, we did receive one question. And the question is, I understand that the board gave $50,000 to community groups. My question is, where does that money come from? Does the board have its own budget? Does it come from the Horizon House funds? How is it raised? And can we be better notified of this?
Well, it is true that the Community Relations and Diversity Committee awarded $50,000. I believe this year was 8 organizations. How it works is each year, community organizations are invited to apply for a up to a $10,000 grant. The committee spends a lot of time reading over the applications to make sure that the organization applying for the grant meets the criteria. One critical criteria is the organization must serve the elderly population. So it's a careful process. It's a lengthy process, but yes, 2022, we awarded $50,000. The money is approved by the board. And I think there are 2 ways that the board can approve. One is from the operating fund. The other is from the endowment. And before any monies are awarded to community agencies, the board approves the budget. I hope that answers the question. We did, however, anticipate, we discussed it in committee, about the need to make information about the grant-making process available to residents. And I believe now any interested person can read and about that process through the alert. And that's the brief explanation. And then there is more detailed information about that process. Or you can certainly ask any of us, starting with me, about what we do, why we do it, how we do it. And I'd be happy to answer your questions tonight if someone would like to talk about that.
Yeah.
I did want to respond to a couple of the questions that came up just quickly. In terms of the funding of those grants, this year it's coming out of operations because we're working with the Community Relations Committee to make it more transparent. People had they had a question. They wanted to have a better understanding of how the application process happened and how the money was given over. And so this year, it's not coming out of the endowment, it's coming out of operations, just to make sure that and we want to make it crystal clear. A couple of things with the North Tower, the same objections were raised about the North Tower when it was built as being glamorous, nicer than everything else. And it was I remember being at Plymouth Church and people moved into the North Tower and it was kind of like hoity-toity. You're going into the North Tower. Well, it gets incorporated into the community and this will be and actually having this variety of housing available to us provides the socioeconomic diversity of the organization because you have cheaper, mid-range and higher range apartments. And so, and at this point, we're also not looking at trying to house 50 people from the West Wing all at once. This is a process that's going to take over the next 2.5 years. And so it's not like it's a one, you have to move 50 people all at one time. And I have to tell you that the staff here, Mike and the rest of the staff, the well-being of residents is their primary concern. Well, and the future viability of the organization is their primary concern, and the amount of energy that has been put in to make sure, and will continue to be put in to make sure that people are, and their fears and their needs are addressed. This place is unique. The amount of care, it's unique because of the amount of your engagement, but it's also unique because of the amount of staff engagement. It's a two-way street.
Two quick questions. Is it still going to be 32 stories high? And what is going to be happening to the Monday market, to the garage, to the storage units that are in that building?
First question, is I think it's 30, 32 and 233 stories and I think it was 203 units. Okay, and I'm sorry, the second. Right. Yeah. I'm gonna turn that detail over to Christy.
Are you talking about in the interim time? Or are you talking about? Yes, okay. So there will be an interim Monday market. We have been working with the Monday market team on figuring out where that will be. It's not, it won't be the same size as it is today, but we will do our best to accommodate as much as we can what their needs are. Parking is going to be a challenge. Parking will be a challenge, no doubt about it. There's a lot of parking spots in the West Wing, and we still have to figure that out. Luckily, we have until fourth quarter 2025 to get that figured out. So we're working on that. Storage lockers as well. We anticipate that we will have to go outside to, some external storage location for those temporarily while we are in the transition. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Okay, right over here.
Over
Okay,
here.
We'll take one more question. Yeah.
There you go.
A major concern of those of us who will have to move from the West Wing is competition with the outside market. We know that for the best financial interests of the institution, apartments need to be occupied. And once we move, it's unlikely that our apartments will be rented in the future. So that's a net loss to Horizon House budget. So naturally, there would be pressure to keep outsiders having first choice of those apartments, even if it's subconscious. I think this is a real issue for us. We'd like to have first choice at the available vacancies.
Great point. I think that's part of maybe the broader plan that was going to be rolled out. But again, it's going to be subject to each of the 75 different folks that are impacted. Now, I mean, that was what the original meetings were. I'm not sure what the total number is now. But I mean, I think first goal, we need to take care of our folks. Okay. Period, full stop. And yes, there will be financial implications around that. Just a sec. Beth, any other written questions that came in? Are we good? All right. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much again for joining us this afternoon, and would love to see you all for the meet and greet immediately following in the Fireside Lounge. Thank you.